For my next poem, the lead-in, they say that every man and woman is entitled to at least one great dog. And if you asked my friends which of my dogs was the greatest, I think they would all tell you they love best to hunt with a dog that I named Moonchip Skyrocket Red and called Little Red, and they called Crazy Red, but that when it came to greatness, a dog I named Sheba will always be the queen. And I remember the day in 1982, I drove down to the Brazos River bottoms outside DeWalt, Texas, to pick up a little yellow fluffy fuzzball of a duck-down puppy dog that I called Sheba. And I remember how Sheba and I trained every day and sometimes twice a day from the time she was 7 weeks old till she was old and gray. And I remember September the 5th of 1986 that Sheba put me on an airplane and flew with me to Minnesota and the Rice Creek Retriever Club outside Little Falls, Minnesota, where she showed the whole world how she could climb a tree to make the final retrieve and become the first golden retriever master hunter in the world. I remember another day, 6 years later, 1992, that our veterinarian sat us down and talked to us about lymphosarcoma, an incurable cancer in dogs. And I shall never forget the very next day that the whole family sat on a blanket down on the banks of Buffalo Bayou underneath the giant sycamores where the wood ducks squeal and play, and petted and stroked the fluffy duck-down feathers that Sheba never lost, and watched as that same veterinarian sent Sheba on her final back, a long and complex blind retrieve that each and every one of us must someday make alone. And shortly after Sheba had run her final back, a friend shared with me a Rudyard Kipling poem entitled The Power of the Dog. And hopefully it goes something like this. There is sorrow enough in a natural way from men and women to fill our day. And when we are certain of sorrow in store, why do we always arrange for more? Brothers and sisters, I bid you beware of giving your heart to a dog to tear. Buy a pup and your money will buy love unflinching that cannot lie, perfect passion and worship fed by a kick in the ribs or a pat on the head. Nevertheless, it's hardly fair to give your heart to a dog to tear. And when the 14 years that nature permits are closing in, asthma, tumors, or fits, and the vet's unspoken prescription runs to lethal chambers or loaded guns, then you'll find it's your own affair, but you gave your heart to a dog to tear. And when the body that lived at your single will with its whimper of welcome is stilled, how still? And the spirit that answered your every mood is gone wherever it goes for good, you will discover how much you care, and you'll give your heart to your dog to tear. Now we have sorrow enough in a natural way when it comes to bearing Christian clay, for our loves are not given, they're only lent at compound interest of cent per cent. And though it's not always the case, I believe the longer that we've kept them, the more do we grieve. For when debts are payable, right or wrong, a short-time loan is as bad as a loan. So why in heavens, before we are there, should we ever give our hearts to a dog to tear? I don't know whether my mustache is falling a little, maybe. Did it? Yeah. Okay, we'll try to get back to Kipling here and see if we can't make it stay up. At some point I may just take it off, but is that, I can't. Hold on. Yeah, it's down a little bit, but I can live with that if it'll stay there. If it goes any lower, we'll have to do something different. Okay. If you're wondering what happens to the two-legged dogs after, are we ready? If you're wondering what happens to the two-legged dogs after they have run their final back, I think Rudyard Kipling would suggest something like this. When Earth's last picture is painted and the tubes are twisted and dried, when the oldest colors have faded and the youngest critic has died, we shall rest, and faith we shall need it, lie down for an eon or two, till the master of all good workmen shall set us to work anew. And those who were good shall be happy. They shall sit in a golden chair and splash at a 10-league canvas with brushes of comet's hair. And they shall find real saints to draw from, Magdalene, Peter, and Paul. They shall work for an age at a sitting and never get tired at all. And only the master shall praise us, and only the master shall blame, and no one shall work for money, and no one shall work for fame. But each for the joy of the working, and each in his separate star, shall draw the thing as he sees it, for the God of things as they are.